This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're gonna be in the factory, making something that everybody loves, and that's chocolate. Now I love chocolate, I am a chocoholic, and so this game was interesting to me. It's called King Chocolate from Mayfair Games, plays 2 to 5 players, and up to 60 minutes, about 45 to 60 by the time you're done. Let me show you how it's played, I'll see you on the other side. At the beginning of King Chocolate, you get a player aid that has your color, and on the back of the player aid is used to see your actions. Now each player will take the meeples matching their player aid color, although I did get an extra player aid with a color that is not one of the meeples. Not sure why this is here, I think it's just an extra one, but hey, I'd rather have an extra than not enough. Now in the game, you're gonna be basically producing chocolate, and there's different stages, 1 through 6, in the way that they go through pods and beans and roasted nibs and liquor and chocolate. And you're gonna be trying to basically area control certain of these things, and as the chocolate leaves the station that you own, you'll be making money, and you're trying to get the most money at the end. Everybody will start with 3 starter tiles and their meeples. Now this is the starter ring that starts the game. You can build in it or outside. The first thing you do on your turn is you must place a tile. Now they don't have to match anywhere, but many times you're gonna want to match things. So maybe I put it like this. And now if you cannot place a tile at the beginning of your turn, you must draw 2 tiles, place 1, and that's the end of your turn. You do not wanna start your turn without any tiles. So I've placed that, that's the beginning of my turn. You then get 3 action points in any order to do things. You can draw a tile for 1. You can do production for 1, you can move a worker 1, and you can populate for 2. Let me tell you how these work and show you. I could populate this group because nobody else is on it, and I own that section of the production, which is stage 1. I would then take these cacao cubes and put 1 in each of the circles. So that's open circles that are there, so that's 3. And you only place them when you basically put a worker there for the first time. That was 2 action points. I have 1 left. I could, if I wanted to, move these beans production-wise, but I might wait. Maybe I'll just draw a tile. And over here we have different tiles that we can take. Maybe I take this one and it will get replaced by one of these stacks. That would have been my 3 actions. It would have been to the next player's turn. So my next turn, everyone else has kind of gone and done some things. I can place a tile like this, which makes my group a little bit larger. No, I don't place a cube there because you only do that when the worker gets there. And now we're going to do a production phase. Now, for 1 point action, I can do a production, which basically I can move anything from the supply to a phase 1 group and fill them up with cubes, or I can move anything from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3, or so forth and so forth. The cubes move just basically to the next numbered station. So for 1, I can move all the ones that I could to a number 2. Now, there's already stuff here for number 2, and somebody else already owns that, but if I wanted to, I could take these 2 and move them to this 2. Now, because I moved 2 through my station, I actually would get $2, and that's basically the way that you get money in this game. Is I would get $2 because I moved 2 cubes from my station to the next station in the production, and I did it to a station that nobody else owns, which is a good thing. So that was 1 point of action for production. When it's this player's turn, they could use the 1 production. This is the last stage in chocolate. It's the 6th stage. Basically, they could move all these out, and he'd get 1, 2, he'd make $4 because he's at the end of the chain there, and they just move out into the supply, and then later on they'll come from the supply to stage 1. The last thing you can do is move a worker. Maybe this production plant isn't doing so well, and I can move it to maybe another group. That wouldn't be the smartest move there, but you can move a worker for 1 action point. Now when placing tiles in, I could not put a tile here because this joins 2 separate groups. Even if the person on here was the same color, I could not join that together because this would join those 2 groups together. Now here's how it might look almost when everybody has all their workers out as it gets a little bit busier, and you'll notice it's just it's a little bit hard for your eyes to kind of see where everything goes. For example, if I were the green player, I have a production 1 here, I have production 3, I have a production 6, and I have another production 6 over here. And it's like, okay, so I have a production 1, I'm trying to see where can I move production 2 to. I can move it to here, or I could move it to, here. There's nobody there, it might be good, but I'm only gonna be able to move 2 there, and you're just trying to see where you may move things. But it is a little busy, even though the colors are sort of these interesting colors, it makes it very hard for the eyes to see logically where your next production stage is going to be. And this is just the beginning. The board gets obviously a lot bigger as the game goes on. Now take this graphic design thing a little bit further. You see number 1 is yellow, okay? And number 1 has a yellow with green rings. Now this is actually decent because these green rings, number 2 has a green background. I would hope that those would kind of match to keep the eyes be able to see these things. 2 is the rings are red, and you would think the next one would be red background because it would allow your eyes to quickly see where the next level is, but it's not. Level 3 is essentially orange, and something else is red. So the color and graphic design here makes it really hard to see where the next stage is just by looking at the board with all these busy colors. They really should have made it so that the rings of this color is the background of the next logical place. That would have made this game a lot easier to play, and a lot more streamlined. You will continue taking actions until you can no longer refill this up to 4. There's always 4 tiles here. And once you can't reset those up to 4, that begins the end of the game. At that point, it ends immediately. If you have a tile left over, you would lose $10. And then you add up all your money. The one who has the most money is the winner. All right, well, there's King Chocolate. As I mentioned in the intro, I love chocolate, and so I was pretty interested in seeing this. That's sort of a different theme. I like games that have unique themes, and this is certainly one of them. Now, the gameplay itself, unfortunately, didn't hold up to what I had hoped for the game. Now, I talked about theme, King Chocolate, interesting theme. Well, it turns out that this game is pretty much themeless. It could have been anything. Never once did any of us playing this game feel like we were actually making chocolate. We were just abstractly putting tiles, putting meeples on groups, moving cubes, and scoring points. Which a lot of games sometimes don't have themes, and I actually do have plenty of games in my collection that don't really tie to the theme really well mechanism-wise that I actually still love. But I usually prefer a game that does match mechanisms with themes, and this one does not do that. The biggest problem I probably had with the game, well, before I get there, let me say what I did like about it. I liked that it was simple. I liked that the actions were very, streamlined. It's like you have action points to spend. Almost all of them just cost 1 point, except those ones where you're placing your guys. But after the early part of the game, when all your guys are placed, everything else is just 1 point. Streamlined and easy, and it was quick. The turns move fast, and it's an easy game to teach and an easy game to play. So that's what's positive about the game. What I did not like about the game, so a game's art or graphic design, a lot of times you'll hear me will draw you into the theme, draw you into the game, draw you into this experience. And unfortunately, this game had the exact opposite effect. Almost everybody I played this game with, was completely pulled out of the theme, pulled out of the experience, and pulled out of the game by that graphic design choices and the colors and the way things looked. It's very busy. I kind of showed it a little bit on the overview, but the biggest problem is, I've seen some pictures of this game, and it shows all these big groups, and these groups are all big, one big color over here, one big color over here. And sure, yeah, that's fine, but what we found in our gameplay is that doesn't often happen. Because when I'm placing a tile, unless I'm placing my guy on it towards the beginning of the game, or trying to add to it later, I'm pretty much trying to make it so that nobody else is going to make a big group. Right? So what happens is it looks more like a checkerboard pattern in reality, as opposed to just these big groups scattered everywhere. Which leads me to the real big problem in this game is that you spend almost all your time visually looking and trying to figure out where are my guys and where is the next station down that these can go to get me some points. And where are there cubes on the station before us that are going to be coming to me soon. And you spend almost all your time looking, trying to just decipher what's really happening, as opposed to being able to spend the time to actually think about what I'm really going to do. You spend more time looking at this and going, where is all this? It's just a cluster mess, and it takes your brain out of the game and out of the theme that's barely there in the first place. And as I mentioned in my overview, and I showed you there, that it would have been almost the opposite if all of those tiles, the circles, were the color of the next phase. Then it would be really easy, even a very busy board, even one that's really checkerboard patterned, to look at it and go, oh, I can quickly see visually where my next phases are. And that would have probably solved the entire thing. But instead, they didn't go with that, and you spend all the time just trying to look at this busy board, look at all these colors, and trying to figure out even where I'm going. So unfortunately, it wasn't an enjoyable experience, and the theme wasn't there either. So unfortunately, I can't recommend a King Chocolate.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.